Welcome to History 1301, the first half of United States history. My name is Mr. Covert, and I will be your instructor in this chapter. I will talk about a person or event and give you fun facts about them. Some of these fun facts may be on your test or quizzes. If you have any questions, please contact me, and again, have a good semester. Thank you. I'm going to break down the 14 chapters covered in this first half of 1301 into, like I said, 4 segments. The first segments will be chapters 1 through 4, which will be on your first test. The second segment will be chapters 5 through 8, your second test. The third segment, chapters 9 through 11, your third test. And chapters 4 are your final, will be covering chapters 12 through 14. In chapter 1, we will be covering people in motion, the Atlantic world to 1590, the first Americans, European civilization in turmoil, Columbus and the Columbian Exchange, West African worlds, European colonization of the Atlantic world. The person I chose to talk about in chapter 1 is Catherine of Aragon. Catherine of Aragon is the person I've chosen to focus on in chapter 1. She was the daughter of Ferdinand and Isabella of Spain. She would marry Arthur, Prince of Wales, and when he died, very soon after their marriage, she would marry his brother Henry, who would become Henry VIII. She would be his first wife. She would have 2 children, Mary, the first, and Henry, who would only live for 1 month. An odd thing about Christopher Columbus, he would actually be nominated for sainthood in 1866. Chapter 2, Models of Settlement. We will be covering English colonial societies from 1590 to 1710, Chesapeake colonies, New England, the Caribbean colonies, the Restoration era and the Prosperity colonies, the crisis of the late 17th century, Whig ideal, and the emergence of political stability. The person we're going to focus on in chapter 2 is one of my personal favorites, John Smith. Now, a couple of things you'd like to know about him. He was the man who gave New England its name. He also wrote the following books: A True Relation of Such Occurrences and Accidents of Note as Happened in Virginia, 1608. A Map of Virginia in 1612. The Proceedings of the English Colony in Virginia in 1612. A Description of New England in 1616. New England Trials, 1620 and 1622. The General History of Virginia, New England, and the Summer Isles in 1624. How Accident are the Pathway to Experiences Necessary for Our Young Seamen, 1626. A Sea Grammar in 1627, which is the first sailor's word book in English. Here's one of my favorite ones: The True Travels, Adventures, and Observations of Captain John Smith. Advertisements for the Unexpected Planters of New England or Anywhere, 1631. And he would actually be knighted by the Transylvanian Prince Segment Batory. John Smith. Okay. Chapter 3. We're going to be focusing on growth, slavery, and conflict, colonial America from 1710 to 1763, culture and society in the 18th century, Enlightenment and Awakening, African Americans in the colonial era, immigration, regional economics, and equality, war and the contest over empire. We're going to be focusing on King Philip's War. It's sometimes called Metcalfe's War or Metcalfe's Rebellion. I'm going to give you a few stats about this. 800 out of 52,000 English colonists, 1.5%, and 3,000 out of 20,000 natives, 15%, lost their lives due to this war. Proportionately, it was one of the bloodiest and most costly wars in North American history. More than half of the New England's 90 towns were assaulted by Native American warriors. The spark that ignited King Philip's War was a report from John Sesamon, who told Plymouth County colonial officials that News of King Philip's trying to arrange Native American attacks on widely dispersed colonial settlements. Before colonial officials could investigate the charges, Segment was murdered. King Philip's War. Chapter 4. Revolutionary America, Change and Transformation, 1764 to 1783, Tightening the Reins of the Empire, Patriots versus the Loyalists, America at War, and finally, the Radicalism of the American Revolution. And this concludes Segment 1, which these chapters will be covered on Test 1. Okay, the person I'm going to focus on for this chapter is George Washington. And you can see Mount Vernon there in the corner. And that gentleman that's pointing at that old-looking tomb is an off-campus librarian. And this is George Washington's original tomb. Now you can see right below the picture of George Washington is his new tomb. Interesting thing about the new one, we were told that the guy who made this, his instructions were to make it at a certain size so that the tombs could go behind, because there's other people besides Washington and his wife buried there. However, he made the hole, the opening in the door, whatever you want to call it, too small for Washington and his wife to fit through on purpose. Now, a few more fun facts about him. He was the first constitutional president of the United States. Remember, the United States operated under the Articles of Confederation, and they had a president. He was the first man awarded the first Congressional Gold Medal in 1776. Henry Lee, when talking of George Washington's death, said of him, he was first in war, first in peace, and first in the hearts of his countrymen. At his inauguration, he insisted on having Barbados rum served. And that is enough for George Washington, the first president of the United States under the Constitution.